beginning my second podcast today. It is called How the Qur'an Teaches Me Poetry Writing. And since I am a beloved imaginer, the idea is to enter into a scripture. I enter into any scripture that comes along with a beloving, receptive, welcoming attitude. And I also write, be the scripture you sing. And that means that I actually feel as if I'm becoming part of the text that I'm writing about and responding to. The scripture that I use is the Qur'an. It is in Marmaduke Pickthall's translation. Pickthall, interestingly, is an Englishman who didn't convert to Islam till he was a grown-up. Therefore, I think that being brought up in England, he was influenced quite a lot by the King James Bible. And there is very much a flavor of the King James Bible, which was, after all, composed during the lifetime of Shakespeare, what I would call the teenage years of the English language. And it has a wonderful vigor as well as a slight archaism. And the trees outside, by the way, as soon as I said that, started to rustle and move around rather violently. I'm really happy with this Qur'an, and I am going to show you how I respond to it. I respond to both form and content. The Pickthall translation, and I'm glad I have it because I can't read Arabic, is so powerful in its rhythms that I learn poetic rhythm by reading what is written on the Qur'an's pages. And then, of course, I'm also attracted to the kind of content that moves my heart. And I'll be explaining that too. I just have a few poems to show you, but I hope they will convey something of the joy that I found in this. I will tell you right at the outset that I have spent hundreds of hours reading and writing about the Qur'an, and the technique that I use is an uncommon one. I never have, actually I haven't read the whole Qur'an through even yet after the hundreds of hours, because what I do is I read it as a fortune teller might. I open up to a random page and I see what's there. And if I like it, I write about it. If not, I'll close the book. I'm not always, I don't always feel that something is triggered off by what I encounter, but it very often happens. If I need to try again, I'll close the book and open it again. Oh, that's the way I operate. Let's begin. I'm beginning with number 7. I respond to this because I think it's one of the noblest passages and the most stirring and best written in any scripture that I have ever sampled in my life. The theme is forgiveness, and it comes from lines in Surah or chapter 3 and Surah 42. And vie with one another for forgiveness from your Lord, and for a paradise as wide as are the heavens and the earth, prepared for those who ward off evil. Those who spend of that which Allah hath given them in ease and in adversity, those who control their wrath and are forgiving toward mankind, Allah loveth the good. And those who, when they do an evil thing or wrong themselves, remember Allah and implore forgiveness for their sins, who forgiveth sins save Allah only, and will not knowingly repeat the wrong they did. The reward of such will be forgiveness from their Lord, and gardens underneath which rivers flow, wherein they will abide forever, a beautiful reward for workers. And verily, whoso is patient and forgiveth, lo, that verily is of the steadfast heart of things. Everything has been working as helped by the powerful rhythm up to the climax of the last verse, which happens to be Surah 42, verse 43. I love to remember that with ease. 42, 43. I'm not good with numbers, but even that one I can get. That's a remarkable piece of writing. And whoso, verily, whoso is patient and forgiveth, lo, that verily is of the steadfast heart of things. You not only should forgive and hope to be forgiven, but forgiveness, pardon is at the core, the central essence of ultimate being. You know what, that is so remarkable. It reminds me of the scriptural passage where Jesus recommends forgiving a person who you think may have offended you, not once or twice, but 70 times, 7 times, which, if you do the math, comes out to 490 pardons per individual. Well, I think we're ready to go with this one. And notice how what I've done with the rhythm. I took the rhythm right out of the text. You remember the passage I just read you starts with, and vie with one another for forgiveness from your Lord. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And vie with one another for forgiveness from your Lord, and for a paradise as wide as heavens and the earth, and spend in ease and in adversity what Allah gives, and be forgiving to mankind, for Allah loves the good. And those who, when they do an evil thing or wrong themselves, these are the same, recall their wiser mind, controlling wrath, remember Allah, and implore forgiveness for their sins, and will not knowingly repeat the wrong that they have done, lo, the reward of such will be forgiveness from their God, for who forgiveth sin, save Allah only? They shall have gardens whereunder rivers flow, and there they will abide forever with a tranquil heart, for pardon and for love. Now lend an ear to hear the river coursing through a song made of the words of Allah from the east unto the west. 7 the heartbeats, number of creation, in the strain of thankfulness for love dispensed in bounty to the wise. The hands that clap, the feet that dance, replying to the sky, the voice to echo bounding water, breakers of the sea, the quiet word within the mind, be stirred at sunset hour. The rising choir, moved upward by the flame beyond the wave, the patience and the pardon at the steadfast heart of things, which are the higher mercy of a soul that knows to hark and heed, to wait and hear, to hope and reach, to breathe in peace, will aid us daily in our measured calm of sounding praise. Well, that got me going on the theme of forgiveness, and I hope I'll be pardoned if I do another one on the same subject. It needs no introduction. Once again, I will borrow the rhythm. And what is the rhythm? Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad, and enjoin kindness. What I have done is just slightly tweak that to make the rhythm 100% clear. Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad, kindliness command. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. The Quran likes the 7-beat line. That's not common in English. Actually, I can't think of anybody that makes really extensive use of it in modern times except for William Blake in his great epic poems, prophetic poems. My favorite is called The Four Zoas, which is about the 4 faculties within every human personality. Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad. This is from Surah 7 in the Quran. And enjoin kindness. And if a slander from the devil wound thee, then seek refuge in Allah. Lo, he is hearer, knower. Lo, those who ward off evil, when a glamour from the devil troubleth them, they do but remember Allah's guidance, and behold them seers. They have turned into prophets and visionaries when asking for Allah's help in practicing forgiveness. Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad, kindliness command. Let fountain-sounding lavishness abound throughout the land. Should some be troubled by a jinn with rampant glamour leers, if they remember Allah's guidance, then behold them seers. Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad, kindliness proclaim, and love below, above let flow to glorify his name. Should some forget to chasten haste for fame's embrace and tears, if they remember Allah's guidance, then behold them seers. Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad, kindliness require. Wonderful the design whereby we brothers love desire. Should some distraught or wanton feel enfolded in their fears, if they remember Allah's guidance, then behold them seers. Keep to forgiveness, O Muhammad, kindliness enjoin. Pardon will still hostilities that lover pearls purloin. Should some defending fortresses that fall rejoin with jeers, help them remember Allah's guidance and behold them seer. Now, next, I would like to show you two things. I'm always interested in both form and content. Here, the amount that I have learned from a single Quran passage, only 2 verses, even less than that, because I didn't finish the second verse, from the Quran about rhythm is astonishing. Listen to this. Seest thou not how Allah coineth a similitude, a goodly saying as a good tree, its roots set firm, its branches reaching into heaven, giving its fruit at every season by permission of its Lord. Those are the exact words of the Picthol Quran. All I did was change one word, a good tree, to a goodly tree, and listen what you get in terms of the rhythm. Seest thou not how Allah coineth a similitude? God makes a metaphor. A goodly saying as a goodly tree, its roots set firm, its branches reaching into heaven, giving its fruit at every season by permission of its Lord. So a goodly saying, a wise piece of proverbial wisdom, is a fruitful tree that outstretches branches in every direction and is filled with fruits for you, which can always be used in all the seasons. And now let me show you what the rhythm is. Seest thou not how Allah going? And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. I learned that from the Quran. I wouldn't have thought up that rhythm. You see, the Quran teaches me poetry writing, and it teaches me the use of metaphor, because it stimulates me. The idea that a good saying, a piece of proverbial wisdom that you can use constantly because the tree is ever bearing fruit. It is a tree, and if that is the case, we can develop the metaphor further, as I'm about to do, and say that the entire universe is one great cosmic tree, for it is all an utterance of the Lord. Yes, and the fruits of it are every day to be seen and tasted. So, and then I go from there to remember that the cosmic tree, the world ash, is central to Norse mythology. They picture the souls of the dead in among the roots. We live in the midway branches and the gods at the top. And I bring that in too. So I've made the most, I've tried to, of this wonderful metaphor, and I learn about metaphorics from the Quran. Seest thou not how Allah coineth a similitude, a goodly saying as a goodly tree, its roots set firm, its branches reaching into heaven, giving its fruit at every season by permission of its Lord? What came into my heart is nothing lesser than the time when on the back of lightning rode the dazzled prophet through the highest heavens in a rapture, seeing the giant angel-laden lote tree at the utmost bound. The lote tree, or the jujube tree, is pictured in many depictions of Islamic heaven. The godly metaphor of saying, rich prolific word, will show for every hearer forms, each view another fruit. I do not scruple to conceive it. The whole creation may be seen as Allah's heaven-reaching tree. We dwell upon the middle boughs, a firm and central place. The jinns within the jumble of the roots, bewildered they. Gabriel and the greater angels above and overseeing, Michael showing splendid emerald wings. I'm going to continue with my theme in this poem on some verses from Surah 15. Here, in the very short passage of and strongly rhythmic, of the Quran, we have a metaphor which I love because it's both concrete, you can see it vividly, and yet it's very open-ended. If you just take it out, as I have done, and so to speak, have a waking dream about it, you see that it's widely applicable. Listen to this. And we gave them our revelations, but they were averse to them. And they used to hew out dwellings from the hills wherein they dwelt secure. But the awful cry overtook them at the morning hour. And that which they were wont to count as gain availed them not. Okay, so they don't want to hear whatever revelation it is that they're trying to shut out. Instead, they hold themselves up in the dwellings that they dig out from the hills, up in some high place, and it does them no good, because the great cry breaks out in the morning hour. Where is this? Well, as a poet, as a beloved imaginer, I get to yes. And I'm suggesting it may be a condo in Florida? What do you think? Maybe, just possibly. We gave them revelations, but they were averse to those. They hewed out dwellings from the hills wherein they dwelt secure. The awful cry then overtook them at the morning hour, and that which they were wont to count as gain availed them not. The faction of the rocky tract. What could the tale disclose if it were a similitude for us who would endure? Deeming we're safe in rock-hewn rooms, we seize all earthly power and little think, so dull and stunted is our nature thought. We have removed the hearts of hills, the mighty heads that rose high in the twilight lopped, that we with plunder will impure, might brigand-like burn stolen coal, each meager scene to scour. We take what cannot be replaced. What havoc have we wrought? We damage habitats of caribou and bears, what grows in icy climates perishing from sneaky heat. The poor folk of the world may die while our pollution engines glower, their oil-filled maws defiant. Aye, the comfort that we sought abandoned us, our fever greed, the meanest of our foes, who love not others, kill themselves. We our concerns immure within a stony selfhood skull. Fallow of fruit and flower, our desert minds desert us, ills by thoughtlessness begot. This chimes in well with the doctrine that you find elsewhere in the Qur'an, doctrine of stewardship. The Qur'an calls it trust. The story is told that in the beginning, having created the earth and the heavens, God wanted to have a steward, an assistant, a viceroy, as Pickthall calls it in his older style English, a viceroy, a steward, an administrator, and he asked all of the beings in the created world who would do it. They all were terrified and refused, but only Adam agreed. Adam, therefore, has agreed on behalf of humanity to be the steward of this planet where we live. Going through the book rather fast. I only have time for a few samples. I keep hitting that microphone too. That's not too smart. Now this one is very interesting. Here I love the content, which is simply it teaches an awareness of gratitude. I'm grateful actually for waking up each morning, and the Sufis even teach that you should be grateful for being grateful, because it is an elevation of the spirit. It is an achievement. And here it's like as if we had a leader and perhaps a group or choir of responders. But for him who feareth the standing before his Lord, there are two gardens. Therein are those of modest gaze, whom neither man nor jinni will have touched before them. Which is it of the favors of your Lord that ye deny? In beauty like the jacinth and the coral stone. Which is it of the favors of your Lord that ye deny? Is the reward of goodness aught save goodness? Which is it of the favors of your Lord that ye deny? You see what I'm being taught. I'm being taught the technique of the refrain, or the repeated phrase, the way Bob Dylan sings in his song, For the Times They Are A-Changing. Which is it of the favors of your Lord that ye deny? For blood and nerves and lymph and flesh and skin and hair contend to give him praise who fashioned them. Raise then your hands up high. Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would commend? The letters of the alphabet that mimic living forms, and in your lines delight and glide in flight, and stretch and roll. The chant of the creation, rain and sun and cold and storms. Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would extol? To speak of gladness and of woe in melismatic tones, those of the tapped tambour, the oaten flutes that wail and cry, in the Maulana mausoleum, vocal lauds and moans. Which is it of the favors of your Lord you'd magnify? The honeysuckle, sleeping on the oak, the flaunting rose, reveling sweet along the wind, the whitethorn loved in May, opening eyes to greet the dawning brightness while it grows. Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would display? Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would disclose? The seas and bays, the flaming constellations none can name, the henna-fingered maid of daybreak ray that faintly glows. Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would acclaim? Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would approve? The comets that eccentric whirl, the womb heaven vault, the loud prophetic trees wherethrough the roaring surf winds move. Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would exalt? Lulling the dreaming mind to captivate the raptured ear, are thrush and linnet and the goldfinch, robin and the wren. Which is it of the favors of your Lord ye would revere? Within you starry worlds are stored, ye women and ye men. Now, we have something rather different. There are a number of these in the Quran. I call them personal poems because they sound, although Muhammad says that God alone dictates every word that's in this book, they sound like something that he himself might say about his life. It's very human, it's very touching and near to me. And what I have done is, since I find that even on the page of the Quran, it already has something of the power of a poem, as if it were a soliloquy from a play. What I try to do is, by regularizing the rhythm, usually the 7-beat line that seems to be the Quran's favorite and has become mine as well when I do these poems, how do I end that sentence? I think I started it and got lost in the middle. Anyway, yes, what is the emendation that I can bring about to improve slightly from the poetic point of view what may be here? For modern readers, I can regularize the rhythm, and I can in this way make it not just a soliloquy in a play, but something more like the soliloquies that we hear in a Shakespeare play, or that we heard in the sonnets last time in our bisexual Shakespeare presentation. Okay, let's begin with this little episode from the Prophet's life. Now by the pen and that which they write therewith, thou art not for thy Lord's favor unto thee a madman. And lo, thine verily will be a reward unfailing. And lo, thou art of a tremendous nature. And thou wilt see, and they will see, which of you is the demented. Lo, the Lord is best aware of him who strayeth from his way, and he is best aware of those who walk aright. Therefore obey not thou the rejectors, who would have had thee compromised that they may compromise. Or is the unseen theirs that they can write thereof? But wait thou for thy Lord's decree, and be not like him of the fish who cried out in despair. Had it not been that favor from the Lord had reached him, he surely would have been cast into the wilderness while he was reprobate. But his Lord chose him and placed him among the righteous. And lo, those who disbelieve would fain disconcert thee with their eyes when they hear the reminder, and they say, lo, he is indeed mad, when it is naught else than a reminder to creation. I shouldn't have used the word improvement. My poem will improve nothing. That is perfect as it stands. But I have to express my personality. And so here it is, just looked at from a slightly different angle. Now by the pen I swear, and what they write unwisely, you are not for God's favor unto you, a madman. Behold, yours verily will be reward unfailing, and you and they will see which men are the demented. The Lord is best aware who strays, who walks directly. Therefore do not obey, distraught the fond rejectors. Fond is used here in the old sense, common in Shakespeare's day, of foolish, who would that you might compromise that they may do so. Or is the unseen theirs that like to write about it? Wait for the Lord's decree, not reft of hope as Jonah. Had not God's favor reached the man, he were an outcast, but being loved of him, was placed among the righteous. The disbelievers disconcert you, crying, madman! Yet are your words but a reminder to creation. Oh, this is rather special, this next one, because when I was teaching for a month in Egypt during the time when Mubarak was deposed, I was there during exactly the month when he was deposed, at a settlement called Sekhem, about an hour from Cairo. I taught English teachers English, and we had classes. And one day, one of the students very touchingly asked me, "What's your favorite surah of the Qur'an?" I said, that's an embarrassment of riches to contemplate, and I cannot give an apt answer. But the first one that comes automatically to my mind is the enshrouded one, because it says it's about nighttime. And about the night, here's what it says, verse 5 and 6 from Surah 73. For we shall charge thee with a word of weight. Lo, the vigil of the night is a time when impression is more keen and speech more certain. Why is that so precious to me? Because I am a poet of the night. I write throughout the night. And what I love about the night is its seeming silence and its actual non-silence. In other words, I never hear absolute silence. I'm buffered or protected from that by a constant sound in my ear, which actually I only have one good one, so I use ear in the singular, which has a faint resemblance to the sound of rushing water. And then that brings to mind the sound that is made when you put the seashell to your ear. Your parents will tell you, oh, that's the ocean that you're hearing. As a grown-up, however, it struck me that that is vastly improbable. So I looked it up in a science book, and here's what I learned. What you hear in that shell is the vastly amplified sound of the blood that flows in your own ear. So your parents were both right and wrong when they said it's the ocean. Yes, not that ocean. It's the ocean that is within you. There's a tremendous flowing ocean within you, and when heard properly, it makes a tremendous sound. That's what comes to my mind when I think of the night, which I love so much. And that helps contribute not only to my love for this section from the Qur'an, but also to the poem which I wrote about it. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, O thou wrapped in thy raiment, keep vigil the night long, save a little, a half thereof, or abate a little thereof, or add a little thereto, and chant the Qur'an in measure, in rhythm, for we shall charge thee with a word of weight. Lo, the vigil of the night is a time when impression is more keen and speech more certain. Lo, thou hast by day a chain of business. So remember the name of thy Lord and devote thyself with a complete devotion. Lord of the east and of the west, there is no God save him. So choose thou him alone for thy defender, and hear with patience what they utter, and part from them with a fair leave-taking. Leave me to deal with the deniers, lords of ease and comfort in this life, and do thou respite them a while. Wrapped in their raiment are the prophet and the night. In each the tone of quiet sounds the ocean truth. shrouded as in a shell of ever-during youth, a silence in the whorled human ear, the light by vatic voice within and on the water sings. White shell, if it be wisely held that we may hear the sea-like hymn, it amplifies our blood rush clear, whose might of tide and current breakers waves surf brings. Respite the guest with patience, do thou but depart. Night shell of spirit let reveal unto the heart a message of the east and west, a word of weight. Let man who's born in freedom work a grander fate. May long abiding comfort of a deep drawn ease come from the night accorded kingly mysteries. We're heading toward the end, and interestingly, the passages or the Quran surahs become shorter. The principle of organization in the Quran is most uncommon, and this is why I do my fortune teller method, because there's no particular need to read it straight through for continuity of narrative line. There is no such continuity. The principle of organization is bigger chapters first, smaller last. That's it. And now we're going through the book, and I do it in order of Quran presentation, and so we're heading towards some of the later chapters, which are among the shortest. And I am going to read you now one called The Morning Star, Surah 86. It's only 7 verses. By the heavens and the morning star. Ah, what will tell thee what the morning star is? The piercing star. No human soul but hath a guardian over it. So let man consider from what he is created. He is created from a gushing fluid that issued from between the loins and ribs. Now that is a first-rate lesson in poetry. You see what he has done. You've got 2 metaphors here, symbols, emblems of something. The first, the star, and then the sperm. How are they related? He doesn't tell you. To me, though, it's fairly clear that they are both the same flash or spurt of sudden emergence of life. And I developed that. That's one of the things I learn about the Quran. The pregnancy of metaphor, the vast amount of content to be found in its implication and application. The gushing fluid and the rising morning star, the water and the fire, the fountain and the flame, alembicate the alchemy from whence we came. Yet potter's clay and air combine in what we are. As the returning bird, new flown here from afar, sings to remind me right outside my window frame. Person and bird in this allied, their song the same. Love the like liquid and the sun life none can bar. The union in us all of unlike elements, earth, air, water, and fire. Behold the wonder known of old. In ancient tents, the tale was told of rainbow, flood, and Noah dove, and then of Moses, blazing solar bush, and of the spirit wind that long before the world was made, wafted on darkness while the jinns and angels prayed. The trees outside seem to like that. They are sounding. Do you hear it? I don't know if you can hear that. It's quite impressive. And now we have another short one. It's called The Morning Hours. We had the night, and now we have the morning. Now, this is another personal one. You remember where Muhammad was being reassured both by his own conscience or unconscious, and by the Lord himself that he is not a madman, despite what a host of other people have said about him. Here, this is equally personal. And here, the personal part, I think, comes from the pathos of Muhammad's own life and childhood. He was very early left an orphan. Had it not been for the constant skill and care and devotion and love of his foster mother, he might well not have survived. And he is so grateful to her that in later years he says, and this is among the records of his sayings called hadith, not in the Quran, but it's very powerful, so I want to quote it. He said, Paradise is beneath the feet of the mothers. So here, because you were taken care of when you were a child, you are urged to take care of other people. And the cadences are very biblical seeming. I think of Isaiah in every line. So here we go. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, by the morning hours and by the night when it is stillest, thy Lord hath not forsaken thee, nor doth he hate thee. And verily the latter portion will be better for thee than the former. And verily thy Lord will give unto thee, so that thou wilt be content. Did he not find thee an orphan and protect thee? Did he not find thee wandering and direct thee? Did he not find thee destitute and enrich thee? Therefore the orphan oppress not. Therefore the beggar drive not away. Therefore of the bounty of thy Lord be thy discourse. I don't think you'll find anything better than that in any scripture of the world. This is one of the things that makes the Pickthall Qur'an, for me, unquestionably one of the greatest ever works of literature in the English language. Here's my reply. Speak of him in the brightened day, once orphan, poor and wide astray, new fathered, now enriched and found, favored by one with kindness crowned. Tell of his pure and quiet might, who loosed the horses of the night, then led them back when dawn still dim, prophesied fire of seraphim. Sing of the rescuing of lost wanderers by the whirlwind tossed, that in Sirocco and Simoom foretold feared stern and certain doom. Him in your heart, the healing one, that with a mild and smiling sun, in love enveloped airy space, offered a grand and ample grace. Seek out his image in the least, and lead the famished to the feast. Find the affrighted and alone, and bring them home where light is sown. Though luck be lost and fortunes fade, within this veil the soul is made. The underlight will shine above. Who has not suffered cannot love. And here I conclude my presentation from East-West Poetry. A Western poet responds to Islamic tradition in sonnets, hymns, and songs. Thank you.